Hey, what's up, team? It's Sherman here from Geek Psychology. This video is on the tertiary function and how it causes you so much pain. My mind's telling me no, but my tertiary's telling me yes. Anyway, so we're talking about the pain of tertiary temptation. A lot of you, if you've been studying this for a bit, you know about loops. We're going to talk about what is coming out with the tertiary function, like why it is doing these bad things to you and why it's actually not always bad. And I'm going to go through briefly the 16 types as well, so you get a good understanding of what each function is doing within the tertiary spot and how that's causing some problems. First of all, we all know what it's like to get defensive about things. Like when the world is just telling us stuff that we don't want to hear, and it's just like, I don't even want to think about it right now. Like I'm not going to listen to this. From my own life as an INFP, when I make a judgment about something, I'm like, this is something I want to do, this is good, or this is bad, this person's good, this person's bad. And I don't want to go out there and actually interact with the person or the situation, and just I kind of like clamp up and I like bunker down and I don't let any other information come in, and it's me going to my tertiary function of introverted sensing to just hold my ground. I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to take action on this. I don't want more information. I want to stick with my judgment right here. And that's what is happening through that. The tertiary function is giving me that information and letting me do that in its own way. And this helps us stay in our dominant function. So our dominant function is what we love to do. If you were to describe yourself to somebody else, a lot of what you're describing, not physically, but a lot of like your hobbies and the things that you do and how you think about the world come from your dominant function. The tertiary function gives you an easy way to just continue to stay in that mode. And that sounds good, except for the fact that you need to balance all of this stuff, all these things going on within your psyche. They need to be balanced. So let's talk about that a little bit. So going the next level down, if you go from your dominant function to your tertiary function, you are skipping the auxiliary. And this is, you're jumping it. And so this is like, you're not listening to your nice supportive companion, right? And you're just like, hey, you newbie over here, you rookie, come on in, give me some good advice. How should I tackle this problem right here? How should we defeat this monster? You're new to the game, but you know what? It's fine. Like, we speak the same language. Come on, tell me what to do. And it's just like the support, the companions over there, like, I could easily tell you what to do. I could help you out. I could improve your strengths and everything, but you don't want to take the time to either settle down and listen to what I'm going to say, or you don't want to listen to my advice to go out there and do something about it and like take some action. So it's a lot of times we go from the dominant function, skipping the auxiliary, and listening to the tertiary function. And the problem with that is also, well, the level of development is usually not in favor of the tertiary function. And so like you'll be consciously competent of your auxiliary function. This is something I can do. I can use my NE to brainstorm new ideas that are actually, usually pretty cool, and they're kind of helpful in some ways. My introverted sensing, my tertiary function, is more of an incompetency. It's something that I'm always trying to get help from other people with, implementing things, and like my memory is awful. And I know like we all have different balances of this. I've met some of you INFPs out there as well who have a very good memory and pay a lot of attention to introverted sensing type things. But it's not necessarily the state that you need to be in in order to improve all aspects of your life and kind of round out your psyche. And so going with that, the dominant function and the tertiary function are both the same attitude, the same orientation. And what that means is if I'm an introvert, my tertiary function is also introverted. And so that means I'm skipping the extroverted realm, the extroverted world. I'm not looking at and learning from and making decisions using what is going on around me. It's all stuck within my introverted personal subjective realm. And in the other way, if you're an extrovert, then the tertiary function is extroverted. And that means that you're not going to go inward and see where you stand on things and how your personal interactions with the world has an effect on the other stuff outside of you. So if you're not listening to that auxiliary function, it's just like you're missing, you could even call it half of what you could be doing in your potential. And another thing, the tertiary function, I like to think of it as the defensive function. It often tells you to run. It just tells you to book it. Like, don't deal with these problems. Get out of there as fast as you can. I'll protect you as you're leaving. And it's not always giving that advice. If you're going to the auxiliary function and you're using that properly and then you're incorporating the tertiary function, that's fine. But if you're ignoring that growth, supportive side of yourself and going straight to the defensive side, it's going to cause some problems. And it also offers cliches and platitudes and just like low-level advice for things, because it's not fully developed. It's a rookie, it's a newbie. It's not going to give you like this massive, awesome insight into things or like the best approach to how to tackle the situation. It's going to be like, yeah, how about this? I don't know, because I'm kind of a newbie, and it just kind of like throws it out there and you're like, oh yeah, that looks pretty good. I like that. And you just take it and run with it. That's not good, Make sure that you have awareness of it. When it's coming out, is it coming out in a positive, proactive way? Or is it just in a way of defending yourself and you're not actually listening to what the world is trying to tell you? All right, now let's talk about the EJs. So EJs want to control the situation outside of themselves. They want to manage people or things because that's what extroverted judging function does. And so let's talk a little bit about how the tertiary function for ESJs and ENJs supports that. So the ESJs are going to have extroverted intuition as their tertiary function, and this is normally about brainstorming new ideas, innovation, creating change, shaking up the system a little bit. If it's in a tertiary position, it's not going to be as healthy, it's not going to be as strong, it's not going to be as like powerful as it could be, and it's going to just push you to make guesses and simple abstractions to support the extroverted judging style, TE or FE. So it's like, I see this person doing something, I'm going to quickly just expand from there. What could be happening? What could they be thinking? Okay, use that and then take action. And it's not like as developed and it doesn't have as much time put into it in that situation. And so it can cause some problems, some mistaken abstractions, jumping from one thing to something that's maybe not as connected as you would think it is. It also kind of encourages you to let loose a little bit. Extroverted intuition's kind of optimistic about playing with things, and if you're not listening to introverted sensing, like who you are based on your past experiences and that timeless quality, I suppose, and that groundedness, then NE is going to be like, well, this is an excuse to have fun and let loose and party, so let's do that and just kind of unwind. And you do that too much, it becomes fun and it causes a lot of problems, and then you get stuck in it and you start blaming the outer world. Let's go to ENJs. This would be extroverted sensing. So it's going to come out in the stereotypical SE type things, like let's physically embrace the moment. And what this means a lot of times is just, getting way too drunk, smoking, drugs, those kind of things. It could be pushing yourself physically too hard, not really listening to your body even, and just kind of like going for that adrenaline rush. And also looking for the physical evidence in the now to support whatever your decision is that extroverted judging is trying to push. And it's not looking past that. It's not looking for the long timeline of things. It's just like focusing in on one specific physical thing. Like, you did this right now, and then make a judgment on that person or control the situation. So it can be pretty bad, right? Next, let's talk about the IPs. So, introverted perceivers, we all want to generally feel justified in our decisions, right? We spend a lot of time going through the subjective world and trying to understand how we feel or think about something. And we don't want to let that loose. We don't want to let that go. Like, we've spent so much time in it, it should be right, and it describes who we are as a person. And so the tertiary function is going to come out in ways of keeping us right, keeping us justified. For the INPs, introverted sensing, I can talk a lot about this. I already did a little bit. This is relying too much on the past and not thinking about what could happen. What if things were different? What if things changed? What if the structure of the system was shaken a little bit, shook a little bit? And it also, encourages you to rely on those physical comforts. Like, I'm just gonna stay in my house. I don't want to hang out with anybody right now. I just want to kind of relax. And you say that enough that it just becomes who you are. Also, the ISPs, this would be introverted intuition. The kind of lower it gets, I guess, the more paranoid it becomes. And it can come out as like a fear of other people's motives, alternative motives, like, this is what you're thinking about me, and you latch too much onto that speculative line, and it can be bad. And you do that, both SI and NI will do that as a way of supporting the judgment, so that you don't need to actually get into the real objective world and experience things that might be counter to your judgment. Another thing for ISPs would be this feeling of being harshly judged by other people. And because you're always looking at other people and trying to shift into their mindset and see how they're thinking about things. You do that too much, it becomes more and more appealing, as I've said, and it becomes more like who you identify as, and it becomes more difficult to shake out of it with NE or SE. Next one is the EPs. The EPs, y'all don't want to be tied down. I know that. You want to experience life as it is in whatever way in the moment. It could be ideationally or physically, whatever. You don't want to be held down. And so your tertiary function for, let's say, the EFPs is going to be extroverted thinking. And extroverted thinking is going to give you the desire to have quick results. It's going to encourage you to just find whatever evidence you need immediately to get the result that your NE wants, or SE wants. So it's like, this feels great. This is what I want to do. Okay, I see the quick plan to do it. I'm just going to do that and go with it. I'm not going to really dig into how does this resonate with who I am, and are all the pieces within me aligned. It's not going to let you get that deep if you're listening to the tertiary function. It could cause you to manipulate people just to get that reaction that you want, because it's looking at them as resources instead of people. And also just pushes you to continue to complete tasks. without stopping and seeing if you're actually making progress towards the goals that you should be. I've seen it a lot. It's just like, I'm not going to look at the walkthrough of life or even of a game. I'm just going to try this. That didn't work. I'm going to try this. No, okay, I'm going to try this. And it's just like, when are you going to settle down and really think about it and go inside yourself in a subjective or personalized way? And next is the ETPs. So, you also don't want to be held down, but this time you're going to use extroverted feeling as the tertiary function. It's going to encourage you to look at how the social environment is and just embrace that instead of going into what actually makes technical sense to you and looking at the systems of information at play. And so this could cause you to focus too much on being charming over like the actual logic of the situation. And this causes a lot of cognitive dissonance, and it's just like, it can be pretty bad because as a TP, somebody with TI at those higher levels especially, you don't want to act against what the information tells you is the priority. And so if you're going to FE as the tertiary function instead, and that's the voice that you're listening to as how you make judgments, it's going to be like, I'm going to people please. I'm going to look at how other people are acting and maybe judge them harshly, blaming them for negative situations, possibly in a way to make yourself look better. It can be pretty bad. And also, just serving other people and ignoring yourself, which is kind of always that FE-TI pull back and forth. Like, is it of the group or of myself? But really, they're attached on a spectrum, but we're just talking about listening too much to that tertiary temptation. And so a lot of it comes through just keeping things light, keeping things in an extroverted perceiving way, like not getting too heavy on things, and then dealing with people and making decisions based on that without going too deep into the logical structure of it, if that makes sense. And next one, the last set right here is the IJs. So for the IJs, you want to really protect yourself and your ideas as well. And so the tertiary function is going to come out and help you do that. And it can be good, right? This sounds like a good thing, but it's got to be tampered. And so for ITJs, this will come out through introverted feeling as the tertiary function. Introverted feeling is all about knowing who you are and your true identity based on your values and beliefs and feelings, and then acting in accordance to that. But the problem is, the lower down you get with all of these functions, the less skill it has, the less experience you have with it, it can become more rigid. And so for an ITJ, introverted feeling is not going to listen to all these different voices within you and try to align them to make the correct choice. It's going to justify your choices by latching onto one feeling or value or belief. It's like a grudge or pride or anger or whatever it is, fear of something. It's just gonna like pick that one that really came out, that resonated with you then, and just latch onto it, and you're not going to be able to shake loose from it if you're only listening to the tertiary function. A lot of the times it just comes out because it's like, that just feels right. This feels like the right thing. Instead of taking actions to test it systematically, go through like the scientific method or something like TE, it's just like, oh, this feels like the right choice. I don't need to listen to the outer world. I don't need to necessarily take action with it and test it. I can just stick with this. And as you can see, that would cause a lot of problems. Also, one more thing, because I know we got a lot of ITJs out there. Squishiness. Like, it's your heart in a tertiary position as the rookie, as the possibly newbie. And so it's kind of exposed. People can poke at it and stuff like that. It's something that you don't necessarily feel you have complete competency with. And so that becomes a sensitive area that you're trying to protect. And the last one here, let's go to the IFJs. Thanks for waiting. Let's talk about introverted thinking. You're going to use introverted thinking as a way of protecting your worldview by looking at the data, the cold data. You're going to get icy on things if you get into a negative position. And it's just like, I'm going to put up this wall. Nobody can come close to me, keeping everybody out. And it can make you critical, get really nitpicky over like specific details, and trying to bring out like perfectionism within yourself. Not intentionally, but it will encourage that, because TI can see how all these little data points are working within the system, and how you are not doing your job at making sure that you're choosing the right ones and fostering the right ones and making the right priorities. So it can be pretty bad. So it also using the data as a way of pointing out faults within yourself and with other people is something that happens within the tertiary and inferior using introverted thinking. So that was a long video. Thank you for watching. I hope it was helpful as always. So what you can do with this information, right, is to keep in mind how your tertiary function comes out through what I just said, through personal experience. And I know it's difficult in the moment, but try to continuously remind yourself when you get into one of these positions that you need to go to your auxiliary function. Just try it. Like as an INFP, when I'm feeling that I don't want to talk to people, I don't want to see what could happen, and I kind of block myself off, I go home or something like that, really it means I should just go out and do something, just try something, get some new feedback, learn from the outer world. And so you have your own version of that. I'm not going to go through all those right now. Maybe in another video, more isolated, but that is enough for that. So please let me know down below in the comments if you've gone through this before. Have you been stuck in a loop? Have you had bad advice from that newbie, rookie, tertiary function that you shouldn't have listened to, but you did because it was just easier? I know we all have gone through this stuff. So please let me know, and also put in your type code so that other people know, when they're looking through it to find it faster. And hopefully you guys can build this big database of information to help more people, because that's what we're about here. All right, so thank you very much for watching. Keep up the lifelong questing. Let me know also if you have any ideas for other videos. Good luck, have fun. Thank you very much, patrons. Peace. So long.